So how are things going in the competition there?
Everything going good with the competition. You know, everybody working hard. And we're gonna keep working hard each and every day, every camp.
How they doing the reps between you and Kobe? How's that going?
They're going good. We all taking turns with the reps and trying to get each other right before get prepared for Georgia.
When you have guys like as tight as competitions is, how much does that help you get ready?
It helped me get ready because it's like, you can't take no day off. So you gotta keep working hard each and every day. That way pushing my mind.
What do you feel like you need to do maybe to sort of separate yourself as sort of the #1 guy, be that feature back?
Just keep focusing on me and keep working hard. So keep grinding. That's it.
What did you learn from playing behind Travis the last 3 years? What's the main thing you took away from him playing behind him?
Really just, like I just said, like focus on yourself and not outsiders and anything outside of you. Just keep worrying about yourself and yourself only, and keep striving for better.
Having CJ as your, positions coach, talk to us about some things you were learning from him.
CJ a good coach because he's been there, done that, and he also set a bunch of records here at Clemson. And had a good year at Clemson, a great year at Clemson at that. So he a good coach.
What are some things he's been telling you, keep pushing you and all that?
He just said keep pushing, keep your head straight, and just stay focused.
Is he a hard-nosed coach? Like if you do something wrong, is he gonna run you? What's CJ gonna do for discipline?
He gonna hold you accountable now. You fumble the ball, we gonna run. We do all that, we gonna run. So he's a great coach. He gonna hold us accountable. He ain't gonna let nothing slip. So.
Go ahead.
You've obviously been around a while. Is there anything on your game fundamentally that you're really focusing on during this camp that you want to get better at?
Pretty much I want to get better at everything. Even though I know being good at something, I want to be great at something. So I'm gonna keep working on everything, perfectly my craft at everything I do. So
where do you feel like your receiving skills and also your pass protection are at this point?
I feel I still need to get better at everything. Like I said, because I just can't settle for less.
What are you seeing from the freshmen running backs?
They're going to be great. I see greatness. That's all I see on my freshman running back. They're going to be something great. I'm going to see a show with them boys. A show.
Jordan says that Shipley's the fastest guy on the team, he thinks. What do you think?
I don't know about that.
Not buying it?
I ain't buying that. But he probably, he got some speed on him now. But yeah, I ain't buying it.
Who do you think's the fastest? Me?
Yeah. But nah, for real, I think Nate Wiggins, 20. On talking about the team?
Yeah,
on the team. Oh yeah, I think Nate Wiggins the fastest for real.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it? Did y'all guys race any during the summer?
Oh nah, I just seen him run, so I just know he be floating.
So nobody's challenged him yet? So we don't got any Isaiah, Travis kind of things going?
We might. But right now we just trying to focus. We ain't trying to get no unnecessary injuries right now.
Right.
We're trying to stay focused, stay on the main point. So.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Did you come into this camp, thinking, hey, Travis Etienne's gone, I've got a chance to grab a starting spot? I mean, was that your mindset, or what was your mindset coming into camp?
Coming into camp, knowing Etienne's gone, I'm just trying to work my way, fight every day, and compete with all the guys that's in the room, and just go day by day and motivate each other, just to keep grinding.
What do you think you had to work on personally the most this last year?
I would say just getting better, crafting every day, getting my feet work down, being more patient, and just seeing the whole better.
How important was last year, just kind of getting your feet wet, getting some game action to your development?
I mean, it was a big deal for me. Being behind Travis helped me a lot learn, helped me see what he was doing on the field. So I think it gave me a good motivation, and just to follow his footsteps and just learn after him.
What was Travis so good at? I guess what did you learn from him specifically?
What was that?
What did you learn from him specifically, do you feel like? What was Travis so good at?
He was good at just being patient, just seeing the hole, and just knowing when to take the right steps, and just seeing everything and the game was like just so slow for him. So I think that what made it even better for him.
What do you feel like you bring to the running back position that's unique or different from some other guys?
We not the same, but in a way we all the same. We can all bring power. We can all outrun someone, and I think we all can make a man miss out in open field if we need to. So I think we all can just do whatever we need to get the job done.
What was it like out here in Jersey today?
Oh, Jersey. I mean, it's always a hot one. We know, just come out here and have fun, compete, and just go after it.
Come on.
There's some balls here and there, but I think we getting better as a group. We got a lot of new guys that came in this summer, but that shouldn't be a difference in putting the ball on the ground, because if they give us the opportunity to carry the ball, we should take care of it and do what we got to do.
Phil Moff and Will Shipley are where you were last year. What have you seen out of the two freshmen?
Both of them are great. I love those guys. I try to work with them every day that I can. They got here early, and they learned the playbook way faster than me, so that's I love that. So I think they can be two great kids for us.
What's it going to take for you to win the starting job?
Just being consistent. Knowing what's right to do, staying on 10, and just helping each other, and just being a great player.
Do you feel like you've always caught the ball pretty well, or is that something that you had to work at, like Travis did?
I feel like I can catch the ball pretty good. I mean, we all have a time in the air that we drop a ball, but I mean, that's what we got the jugs for. So I feel like my ball skills are real good, but every other day I do get on the jugs.
How's your pass pro?
My pass pro it's gotten better from last year. I've learned who to read and known who to pick up, so I think it's getting better.
How do you feel like this running back battle has really kind of brought out the best in everybody?
Just the competition in the room. I mean, we all are held at a high standard, so the competitiveness in the room is going to bring out the best of all of us.
So one specific aspect of your game you feel like might separate you to sort of be that featured back or number one guy?
At the end of the day, I'm not looking to be in the number one guy. I'm just here to make the team better in any way I can. It don't matter who run out there first. I mean, knowing that if one of my teammates go out there, I know they can get the job done. Or if I run out there, I hope they know that I can get the job done.
CJ Spiller played this game at a high level. How important has he been coaching you? What are some of the things you've learned from him?
I've learned a lot. He was a good one here. Just learning from him and listening to him really helps us all to be motivated, because we all trying to get to where he was. So just having him in the room is a good motivation.
EJ says he's pretty strict. You guys fumble or whatever, he's going to run and stuff. What do you think about Coach as far as being a disciplinarian?
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, you put the ball on the ground, you have consequences. I mean, and no doubt about it. So, like I said earlier, if the offense wants us to have the ball in our hands, I mean, we should take care of it.
How much running have you done? I'm not going to answer.
I mean, I've done a lot. I mean, I fumbled twice in the spring, but hey, it's a new day. We live day by day. Can't focus on what happened. I'm living in the future.
Is there a moment, because CJ, when he was a player, could just do things on a dime? Like, is there moments where he's telling you guys to do this, and you're like, Coach, we can't do that, or anything like that going on?
No, I think he put us through the stuff that he know. I don't think he's gonna put us through something that he can't do. So anything he gives us, I mean, we can do it. I mean, everything that he's put us up for, we've got it done.
Take a little bit of the grind out of these dog days of summer, out here in the heat at Jersey, just knowing what's coming in the opener with Georgia.
Repeat that question, please.
Just take a little bit of the grind out of these summer workouts, just knowing that you have such a huge game in the opener against Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, we grinded all through the summer. I mean, but we're not focusing on Georgia right now. We're focused on getting better now. So, yeah, we've put in a lot of work during the summer. So when that time gets here on September 4th, then I know we'll be ready.
How many reps do you get with the first team?
Nah, I really don't know. I'm just in when Coach Fuller tells me to get in.
Do you think it's kind of about even though between you and Lindsay?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna like say I'm getting the most reps because I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, whoever runs out there should get the job done.
You come from a hometown that has a lot of Georgia Bulldogs tags and stickers and jerseys. If you already talked to people down there, they already letting you know about what's coming in the opener?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I get a lot of texts every day talking about the game, but I just put my phone down, just keep working, man, because I know what's gonna happen on September 4th.
What's the craziest text you got? You don't have to tell me who, but what's the craziest text you got?
I mean, just to be ready, because I mean, I have a lot of guys on the other side at Georgia. I mean, so they text me trying to give me hell, but I mean,
what they're gonna do or something?
Yeah,
the defensive guys.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, nothing that's gonna harm me.
Who's one of your best friends on the Bulldogs, or somebody that you're really close to?
I would say Taki Smith, transfer from West Virginia.
Yeah.
And hometown guy Adam Anderson. Yeah.
Is there something about your skill set you think is different that maybe separates you from some of the other guys in the running back room?
No, like I said, I mean, we all got the same skill set, so I feel like we all can get the same thing done.
Kobe, you mentioned playbook retention with Will and Phil. You said you were a little bit behind in that arena last year. What was that growth like for you this offseason to really get into the playbook and master it?
I just stayed in the playbook, kept my head in the playbook all through the offseason. I worked on it. I quizzed myself and just asked some veterans on the team like Darian and Lindsay to like sit down and help me with it. And I think I've got it down now.
Thanks, Kobe.
You guys good?
Great job, man.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, Landon, what's it like to move over here? Coach likes to move you guys out of the comfortable setting over here during camp. What's that like for you guys?
It's a challenge, but it's definitely worth it. Just appreciate what we got over there, so that's why we come over here. So I definitely enjoy it.
Landon, what was the thought process behind the added weight, and what does that do for you right now that you've noticed?
Thought process, last year I wanted to be about 210, but I couldn't get that weight up. But this year I was able to get my weight up, still feel good. It's just to be more of a sure tackler, just for me. Still feel good, running and everything.
How's your shoulder feeling?
Shoulder's good.
Talk to other players about this, but just having that Georgia game in week 1, how much does that focus guys, just knowing that's coming up right on?
Oh yeah, it definitely sets the tempo, but I feel like if it's any other year, no matter who was our first opponent, we're still going to prepare the same way.
When you are trying to add weight, is the difficult balance that, like, still having the speed and sort of the ideal
I told my coaches this. I might be 217, but I still feel like I'm 205. So I still feel really good.
Just so far practices, how have you seen the teams really kind of take that step from last year?
As far as mentally, we definitely gotten better. We definitely learned just from each other. Definitely gotten better in one-on-ones, and I feel like we're just building our confidence.
Can you take us through the progression last year with your injury and just how much it affected you during the season when you were still trying to play through it?
Yeah, before my injury, I felt like I was playing my best football, and then I tore my shoulder in fall camp. And talking to the doctors and stuff, telling me I had, need surgery and whatnot, it kind of got to me mentally. So I feel like all year I was mentally down, not really focused on football, just really trying to protect myself, and that really affected my game.
I didn't realize it happened in fall camp. I thought
a lot of people don't.
Did you have a decision to make at the time?
Yeah, I did. Well, they definitely wanted me to play, so it definitely happened midway during fall camp.
You and Nolan are kind of those veteran guys in the safety room now. How has your leadership role kind of stepped up this camp?
It's definitely stepped up. It's definitely with new guys coming in. They're really know their roles yet or what they're doing, but I feel like me and Nolan kind of take charge and just lead everybody.
I guess, does that change the way you tackle? I mean, how are you able to tackle?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm more of a head-up guy now with my weight, but with my shoulder, last year I kind of just was kind of favoring it, not trying to, you know, pop it out again and stuff because I was so worried about it. But yeah, it definitely affected me mentally how I wanted to tackle.
You're just hitting people with your left shoulder as much as
Yeah, I was
possible?
trying to, and that really messed up my angles and how I was coming down and stuff. So that got to me really.
Yeah, so I don't know how much hitting you guys have done, but I mean, does it feel good?
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100%. Gained some weight, put some muscle on it, so feel good.
What was it? You said separated or torn?
Yeah, I had torn my labrum and a little bit on my rotator cuff.
How painful was that, just overall?
When it first happened, it was pretty painful, but they popped it back in. I went and got an MRI and stuff, and so a couple hours later told me I'm gonna need surgery, and it's my choice and coach's choice as well. I want to do play throughout the season or get it after.
So were there times during games where you would pull it and you would
Yeah,
feel it?
definitely. There's times during games where it'll pop out and stuff, but I mean, with a torn labrum and stuff, you really can't do nothing about it. Just pop it back in and try to go back out there.
Like how many times?
I'd say it happened about once or twice a game.
Was it the Notre Dame game or in the regular season when you had to leave the game?
Yeah, that's when I guess I had took a bad hit, or when I made a tackle, nerve damage kind of messed up my nerve and it went limp for a little while. And that's what kept me out for a couple weeks.
What would you say the percentage of the full Landon Zanders everybody saw last year?
Probably at like 70, 65, 70.
How does it, I'm sorry if you've already answered this, because I got here late, but how does that affect the way you play on the field? Like,
Yeah, it affects me big time mentally. You know, when you have an injury and you're just so worried about it, you really don't think about the game plan. Well, you do, but you think about how you're going to tackle. And when that happens, you mess up your angles and your pursuit angles and how you want to come down and stuff. So it definitely messes up you mentally and also affects you physically.
So when you're coming down and
yeah,
trying to figure out how to take an angle, or you like trying to figure out how to position yourself?
Yeah, I was always thinking about my right shoulder. So definitely kind of messed me up on my tackling.
Were there times during the season where you reconsidered that decision?
Yeah, especially after when I got injured in the Notre Dame game when my arm was dead. Kind of considered getting it done, but I just knew we had a chance to go to the playoffs and stuff, so I definitely wanted to come back and try to help my team.
Landon, what are your impressions of Andrew Makuba? How far do you think he's come since the spring?
He's came far. I mean, he was great in spring. He's still doing great in fall camp. He's definitely ahead of what most freshmen are coming in as a DB, especially in Coach Venable's defense.
Do you feel like you have something to prove this year?
I wouldn't say that. I know I trust my coaches. I know what I can do. I know last year wasn't my best, but I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. I'm just going to play football like I know I can.
Is there a little bit of pride having played through that year?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of pride.
How is this secondary going to be different this year in your mind?
I feel like our man-to-man is going to help us. We're more physical, got some weight on us now. I feel like that's going to help our defense a lot.
How nice is it to have Nolan back, just the communication between you two?
It's great. He's a vet. He knows what he's doing. So anytime, I'll slip up, he'll tell me what I'm doing and lets me know.
You guys get a sense of comfort with your defensive line. That I'm not saying you coach total comfort, but knowing that how dominant they could possibly be.
Yeah, we definitely do get a sense of comfort, but we really don't try to, think they're going to get to the quarterback every play. So, it's a little bit of sense of comfort, know how good our guys are up front, but as far as DBs and back seven, we'll still try to do our thing.
You said you're at 70% last year. What does 100% Landon look like?
We'll just have to see.
What makes a guy like Garrett Carter so unique?
I guess his size and speed kind of remind me of Mike Jones, but a little bit better in his footwork frame. So that gives you an idea.
We've seen him come down with at least one-handed pick. Have y'all seen
Yeah.
multiple?
As far as I saw, I just saw one.
You seen a different Andrew Booth so far?
I have. He's definitely taking his game to the next level.
How so?
He's a lockdown corner. I'll say that.
More sustained intensity, I guess you could say.
Intensity all the time. That's Booth.
What have those one-on-one battles with the wide receivers look like?
They're good. They're really good for the defense right now. I'm ready for Justin Ross to get back, give him some good work. But everybody's doing good. As far as DBs and wide receivers, all giving each other good work.
Any of the freshman wide receivers that have caught been fun to
I remember I haven't went against Bo Collins yet, but Dakari, he's been doing good. I feel like he's really good. Troy just got back out here. He looks good.
A lot of talk about the defensive line. Is there anybody that isn't getting talked about enough?
I'm not sure, but I know I like Root. I like what he's doing. I like how he's stepping up.
Y'all have a trip to the lake coming up. What's your favorite part about that?
Probably just get out, jet skis, boats, relax, cool down and stuff.
Did the coaches ever get on you about being a little cautious about things?
Not yet. They haven't told us. They'll probably tell us on a bus trip up there, so not to do nothing crazy.
What's your relationship with Justin Charleston like?
It's great. He was my roommate freshman year. We always hang out and stuff, so we're like best friends.
What's it like out here at Derby? Practicing?
I mean, it's good in the morning once it starts, but once it gets hot, it's a little tough. But it's definitely good for us to appreciate what we have over there.
Troy Polamalu just got in the Hall of Fame. He got the bust with the hair.
Yep.
Is there any plans to one day have Landon Sanders with his hair in the Hall of Fame?
Definitely. Just a little bit of my own style. That's what I see coming.
Thanks, Landon.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Landon.
Appreciate y'all. Yeah.
The Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by Black's Tire Inc.
Tiger fans, we are back. It's Morgan Thomas and Big Al, Alan Adams. This time, no Houston, because he is enjoying himself at the ocean, I think. Maybe he's in the ocean, maybe he's at the pool. I don't know exactly where he's at. But Big Al is here. I'm here. You're here. We thank you, everybody who's already in. We got a great show tonight. We're going to discuss Clemson's most improved position group on offense, defense, the biggest points of concern for Clemson's offense and defense, and some previous videos that I've done throughout the week on solo. This time I'm not by myself. I know most of you don't tune in when it's just me, so that's why I bring Alan around so he can be a part of it. But we're going to talk about the offense getting bigger because they keep talking about how much bigger they've gotten, so we've got to talk about it too. And then we're going to talk about the defense and what's key for them. And remember, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Tune in live, like the video, subscribe, and follow us so you can stay up to date on all of our exclusive Clemson content we put out every single week. But don't forget, this is the last night where we're on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We're going to start next week, Thursday night, 7 p.m., including 105.5 The Roar. Not a recording like it was 2 years ago. Oh, no. We are going to be live and in color, baby, on the radio and on live stream. Al, you got to be pumped up for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm ready to get out there. A little drive to Greenville, but you know what? That's the price you pay, for the fame. So it's all good. I'm ready to get in studio, in the Bronx studio, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Got
to pay him a little bit more to get the per diem there, their travel. 55 cents a gallon, 55 cents a mile. No. A gallon? Whatever it is, I'll figure it out, and I'll make sure to pay you fairly. I'll make sure to pay you just below average, Al. Just below average. That's right. All right. If you're getting in, please remember, it's not just a show about me, even though I do talk a lot. It's not just a show about Alan, even though he does know a lot. It is also a show about you. So get in the comments and make sure you let us know who you are, where you're from, why you're a Tiger fan, and maybe throw in a question there or two. We already know our number one fan is in there, Kevron Harris. So thank you, Kevron. We really appreciate you being on time and in color with us over on Facebook. Then over on YouTube, we have James. Thank you so much for joining us. James, you are now a mod. You asked for it. You got it. So you will receive it. That's for sure, my man. We got Bill. Four Paws Bill. We'll call him, what, Al? You call him Wild Bill?
Wild Bill, the man formerly known as Four Paws Bill.
Well, formerly known, that works too. But Bill gets in. He's already got some questions in there. He's already got some discussion. We've got, let's see, there's somebody else. I'm missing his name. Chad's in there too. He's got a question, wants to know about Travis Shaw. We are going to discuss just a little bit because it is kind of a big deal going into this upcoming week. I believe this week or next week. Yeah, we don't have very many days left. Next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but next, he is going to release where he is going to be committed to for the 2022 football season. Big time 5-star defensive lineman there. And we are all excited for it. Interesting note to see where he'll go. It's a battle between Clemson and North Carolina? Yeah, that's starting to happen, Big Al. Is it weird to say that Clemson now has to fight North Carolina for recruits? Because it's kind of normal to say Georgia, Florida, maybe South Carolina, maybe, but North Carolina now?
Yeah, that seems to be the way things are trending for sure. Mac Brown's kind of got it going on up there. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what he's selling. I guess they're just selling. They're a few players away from being, a powerhouse that compete with Clemson. And you know what? They've put together a good class. There's a lot of talent up there in North Carolina. If that's a resource they can tap into, they'll be in good shape. So they're trying to do the best they can to lock that state down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, Mac Brown is a great coach. He has a lot of success. I think he's kind of a coach in the sense of Dabo Swinney. He wants to make sure he gets to know you. He wants to get to know your family. I think he understands how recruiting is and how to recruit and build a program that is based on that relationship. He's very good with that. He's teaching that to his assistant coaches, and I feel like it's kind of trickling down and starting to grow for him. His defense is going to be very legit going into this season, going to be something that's going to be a wrecking ball, especially in the secondary. Everybody's very highly rated on their secondary. On the offense, they got some things that they've got to figure out. They still have a powerhouse Sam Howell back there, elite quarterback, one that's going to be a high draft pick as far as in his position, maybe even the best quarterback taken going into this next NFL draft season. But he definitely has to replace 2 starting running backs and a couple of wide receivers as well. So we'll see what they can do on offense. I think it's they've built it to a point where it's plug and play, kind of like Clemson. So I feel like there's still a balance there. So we'll see. I think that it'll be a battle for Clemson and UNC continuing to go in the football field. We're not talking about basketball. But let me ask you this, Al. Let's go to Travis Shaw. Let's go ahead and knock this question out because we had a guy get in. We had Chad get in early. So we'll go ahead and answer his question early. But Travis Shaw, without giving anything that would be exclusive, what's your personal opinion on Clemson's chances?
Well, I mean, Clemson they've been able to get kind of whoever they want out of North Carolina for quite some time now, and it's been really nice. They got Trenton Simpson, they got Will Shipley. They seem to beat them for whoever they want. But this Travis Shaw is kind of a different animal. He really likes the atmosphere at North Carolina. I'm pretty sure he did. Had a great time on an official visit over there, which I mean is pretty typical of recruits. They tend to like that, but. They've got a family connection there, and I think it could be a tough hurdle to overcome. I don't know. I would put right now. I'd put a percentage. I'd say 55 UNC, 45 Clemson, but it's certainly still going to be a battle. I think it's one Clemson could potentially win, but right now, I mean, I think UNC has to hold the upper hand. I think they got to feel good about where they are. And I guess the question for Tiger fans would be, where do we go next? Travis Shaw has kind of been the bullseye target for quite some time, and if he were to go elsewhere, where does Clemson go? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that right now.
I think it's tough because of depth chart. You look at Tyler Davis. I'm assuming that he's going to come back and we're going to see him one more year. I'm assuming that. I don't know. We'll see. He is definitely showing out in the college level. I would say you got Brian Bresee. It's going to have another year, maybe 2 years. For Brian Bresee, he's one of those elite, like big time guys that will already talking about being a first round draft pick, right? So could be difficult to keep him as a senior. But DeMonte Capehart and Trey Williams are both guys who can stay, if they can stay healthy, are both highly graded by you and me, and also highly graded by the recruiting outlets there when they were high school students, and they just got to put it together for the college career. And then Peyton Page is right behind them, who is another big, giant, massive defensive tackle. So I think, there is some decisions there on what will it look like? How long will it take to get placed in there? But I do have to say I'm encouraged because it seems like, he's made these visits and now he's going to make this decision. And if he is making the decision now after these visits, I have to feel like it's an educated and Clemson, it's an educated decision. And Clemson did everything they could to lay it all out there. I mean, he came to the cookout and basically had an exclusive visit with 2 other guys that have already committed, and one other guy that's already committed, I guess. And then he was there with I think 4 or 5 other guys that were already committed. So if anybody's given the push, if anybody has the history of being able to develop defensive linemen, it's Clemson, and they've given their best shot. So you have to tip your hat if you do lose it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's very fair. And you point out the depth chart. I would imagine that's something UNC is probably trying to hammer Clemson with on the recruiting trail, is the fact that they've got all these guys, and he wouldn't be able to come in and play right here. I got to tell you, I think he's wrong. I think a guy like Travis Shaw would be able to come in and play immediately, not necessarily start it, especially if Tyler Davis were to come back. That's not happening. But I think he would get some serious reps, and he could potentially fit right in there as a starter if Davis were to go pro after this season. I mean, that's just the kind of mammoth guy he is, and he moves really well, very strong for his, for that big a man. I mean, he's got a lot going for him. I think he can play here just about as easily as he can play anywhere, but definitely he steps on UNC's campus, he's probably the number 1 DT right from the start.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Where will Travis Shaw go? We've already given you our thoughts on it. I'm still going to hold out hope for Clemson. I feel like, he could fit in that mold if he really liked those guys from IMG that also committed recently. If he liked that experience and got to know the guys there, I think he could really fit that mold. And that picture, we showed it recently, the picture of him in the middle with everybody else around him from that cookout, I think was a positive sign. And the fact that he's just closing up shop. He's not running it any further. So, I mean, we know it's got to be Clemson UNC. I think most people, especially UNC fans, are saying, forget about it. It's over. We got him. But let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think that Travis Shaw is going to go to Clemson or UNC? Or if you got any other questions about it, let us know in the comments. We'll discuss it for sure. We really appreciate everybody getting in. We got about 19 people and only about 3 likes. So let's make sure you get in there and hit the like. That'll help our algorithm. I'm not trying to beg you here for this, but it is just purely numbers. This is the way these techie nerds do it. You got to hit the like button. And another thing that will really help is if you're subscribed, so that way you can stay up to date. And then if you share it with a Tiger fan, I put in the comments, please, tonight, share it with one Tiger fan. Invite a Tiger friend to the show because we're only going to get better. We're going to an Emmy Award-winning studio next week. We're going to be live on 105.5 The Roar and Facebook and YouTube. So it's getting bigger, getting better, getting badder, but still the same show and the same great host that you love. Well, you may love Alan. I don't know how you feel about me, but you tolerate me, I'm sure. All right, so we got some questions. Al, you originally came in and you said, we need to discuss this because I've talked about it for weeks and we just ignoring your questions. So, and I think this is funny because as I'm browsing around, you mentioned you want to talk about what do we think the most improved position group on offense or defense is. Dabo Swinney actually just came out and there's an article from Will Vandervoort. We've had him on the show and he's a friend of ours. We'll say he's a friend. He's been on the show. But Dabo's throwing out there Jalen Lay and Joe. Now, this is on the offensive side. Do you agree or disagree? Let's start with Dabo. Would you put those two up there as high on your list as most improved players? Now, I know we'll get in the position group. That kind of foretells the position group of wide receiver, tight end. But what about those players?
Well, I love the Joe pick, as we've been kind of echoing that sentiment here on the show for quite some time. I think he's, his athleticism's through the roof. He's one of the guys that has opportunity to really make a splash again, and that's in a crowded wide receiver room. So we don't know, whether that's going to happen this year or maybe it's a little more down the line for him, and that's fine. But I think a guy at that size moves that well as long as he gets the playbook down and knows his, the intricacies of the wide receiver position. I think that's a guy that could potentially make a splash as early as this year, and I hope we see a lot of him this year. Jalen Lay, I mean, honestly, as far as most improved, yeah, we haven't really seen anything from him yet. So you kind of got to agree with that. So, I mean, he's only got one place to go, and that's up because he has not been on the field very much. His catching was not his strong suit. We've seen that a couple times. He's the most physically imposing guy that, comes off the bus or one of for sure. I mean, he certainly looks the part at tight end, but we haven't seen him get a lot of on-field action. His catching has come into question, which is a pretty big, part of being the tight end. Or especially in Clemson's offense, they like the guys that can catch the pass, and they want their guys to be able to block. They want them to be able to run the system, know the plays, and apparently, he hasn't done a good enough job of that to date. So excited to see what we can get to know from him, especially if Dabo turns out to be right. A lot of times Dabo doesn't take this kind of stuff lightly. So I'm certainly hoping for the best for Jalen Lay.
A lot of talk is around that weight of really the entire team, which I think is interesting. I don't feel like I know that the weigh-in day, like we were talking about with Wild Bill, I know the weigh-in day is important, but I feel like this year it's getting talked about so much more than ever. Not only are people getting heavier, but certain people are losing weight and getting more athletic, quicker on their feet, more agile, if you will. So I just feel like there's this fascination around weight that is so unique for this Clemson team. I didn't realize it was such an issue until I started looking into it a little bit more and realizing, wait a minute, Clemson played with a lot of backups that were way underweight. And Clemson had a lot of guys that were supposed to show out that were way overweight. So it was just kind of getting them into that natural position of being able to excel, and specifically around their weight. So one of the things was Joe. I had him down 215 going to 224. Dabo comes out and says he was really 240, went down to 224. So somebody's lying on that recruiting paperwork, which I know, Al, you're not shocked. I know you guys listening aren't shocked that, height and weight may be fudged here and there. So the fact that he's lost weight, is that even more encouraging to you now for a Joe?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like they had to bulk him up to, and then kind of get the bad weight down, just kind of bulk him up a little bit to kind of go with his size. It's always good. I always like it when they gain weight, but again, it's funny because some of these position groups, they do need to lose some weight. A lot of times the big time offensive linemen, they'll come in overweight or something like that, and they do need to lose a few pounds. But for the most part, I would say most of the other position groups do need to gain weight. They want to gain muscle mass, and as long as they maintain their speed, explosiveness, and all that stuff that we talk about ad nauseum. I think that's pretty typical. But yeah, having a Joe get up there and get to 240 and slim back down, I'm all for that. I'm thinking he put on some weight and he got the bad weight off. He's ready to rock and roll.
All right, so let's get into the question here, because I know I'm a good host at leading you into the question, teasing you, and then completely not even talking about the actual question. All right. So when they asked me, Morgan, could you fill in a 1-hour radio show? I said, ask Alan. I mean, Alan knows, and definitely. You guys listening know that I can't stay on subject at all, but most improved position group on offense and defense. Al, why was this important for you to go over and kind of discuss what is the key for you and how was your evaluation process?
Well, look, I mean, when you come up short in the season like Clemson did last year, and a lot of people thought we had a chance to win the whole thing, it's disappointing. You start looking at what went wrong, what players could be better, what, whole position groups could be better. What do we do going into next season? How do they address that through recruiting or through on staff and whatever, all those kind of things that you kind of lump into one. And I started looking at this and I started thinking about offense. Okay. Obviously, quarterback's not going to be the most improved, and that's not to say DJ Uiagalelei is not going to be outstanding. I think he will be. But you're not going to say it's improved going from Trevor Lawrence to DJ. That's just not something you're going to it's really going to jump out to you. Tight end, I think, is pretty much status quo for the most part for right now, especially this year. I think it'll be similar to what it has been, maybe a little bit better, and that's great. Running back, again, you don't lose a Travis Etienne, and your running back room get better all of a sudden. I think our running game could look better this year, but I think that's more on the offensive line than anything. So I think the two position groups you have to look at on offense, wide receiver or offensive line. And there's a lot of ways you can look at that because, look, we were really poor running the ball last year. You talked about that on the show. And it was not a thing of beauty. It was not what it was supposed to be. It was not, the Heisman campaign Travis Etienne was supposed to go on. It just didn't work out that well. So I'm really struggling with who actually to pick on this because your wide receivers, I think, could take a substantial step forward, even though our receivers did fine last year. Amari Rodgers had a great season. Cornell Powell had a great season. EJ Williams flashed a little bit as well. So it's not like the cupboard was bare. We're just not used to the alpha big guys that we had. Amari Rodgers, I would still contend, was an alpha. And Cornell Powell was an alpha. He was just a little shorter than, the T. Higgins of the world, the DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, those types. And this year, if everybody stays healthy, I mean, you've got, Frank Ladson, you've got Joseph Ngata, you've got a Joe. You've got all those guys, of course, Justin Ross, but he's a slot guy this year, or supposedly going to be a slot guy this year anyways. It's kind of tough to decide. I think the room for the most improvement is probably the offensive line, like we said. I think that's kind of the group that has the potential to make the biggest jump, which is if you think that's the case, I think they would be your pick. I kind of looked at it in a couple of different ways. And again, you got to assume health on the wide receiver side. Ladson and Ngata have kind of been riddled with injuries throughout their, short careers so far, which can kind of play into things a little bit. I am personally going to pick the offensive line. And I think you have some things to say about this later on in the show, but they're getting bigger on the offensive line. And I'm saying that particularly if things work out so that Matt Botkhorst can end up at center. I think that is a key in the pick for the offensive line to be the most improved. I think that's a big deal. And, whether that means, Marcus Tate, the freshman, who we've been told has really flashed during camp, if he's able to play some left guard or whoever they fill in with left guard, I think that's a pretty key cog. A lot of people want to question the center position on this team. And right now, I believe your starter is Mason Trotter, who's a kind of an undersized guy, which you might speak to a little bit later. But right now, I'm going to say pending Botkhorst and his move to center and say that's a smooth transition. I think the offensive line has the most to gain, and therefore I'm going to go with them as my most improved unit this year.
Verdict's still out for me. I don't know if I can really say that. I really want to, but they were such a sounding board for me. They were such a gripe and complaint and just so frustrated seeing a left guard, a right guard, and a right tackle, and knowing that they are better than the players in front of them, and seeing Travis Etienne not be able to get any yards, only finish the year with 3 100-yard rushing games, was frustrating for me. And then even seeing Jackson Carman doing great in the passing game, but non-existent. And Bockhorst, like you said, in the running game, non-existent. The guys behind him getting pushed around by Ohio State, just literally crazy. I mean, you're looking at Al. We're talking about bigger and stronger, and I'll go ahead and get into it because we always run over. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it, but and just touch it. But if you lose Jackson Carman and you lose Cade Stewart, the guys you're replacing with, if it's Mason Trotter at center, you're minus 34 pounds. So yes, while you are getting bigger, the guys that are projected to start are plus 31 pounds. But those two guys in Carman and Stewart are big hosses that are not being replaced by big hosses. McFadden's 25 pounds less and 3 pounds or 3 inches shorter. And Trotter is 20 pounds less. If you put Hunter Rayburn in there, he is 15 pounds heavier. If you put Hunter Rayburn in there to start at center, you're actually gaining a pound instead of losing 34 pounds. So you're saying move Bockhorst down to center and then put someone like Tate into the left guard, which a guard position is a good place to start because, you're not responsible for the edge being a younger person. I mean, I could see that. We also have Lee in the way, but Tristan Lee, they're talking about he's not anywhere near physically ready. So he's there body and weight size, but muscles and everything like that, not there. So I can't do the offensive line. I got to cheat here, Al. I got to cheat here. And, I got to say the wide receivers. I mean, I know this is cheating, but with Justin Ross back and with EJ Williams showing how he could do, and then with everybody just drooling over a Joe, we already know Joseph Ngata feels like he's getting back on track. Frank Ladson, I think, has what he needs. He just needs to stay healthy. Same with Ngata. Stellato, also a guy who people say are wicked fast, just crazy out there. I'm excited about those guys. So I'm going to pick the wide receiver core. I know that's kind of cheating there. I'm going to see if anybody's in the chat, see what they say. I don't see anybody. It looks like Bill says that hopefully the offensive line will be much improved. He also mentions a Joe said in his own interview last week that he lost weight, drinking lots of water, cutting back on quesadillas. That's big. That's big. And then Just Some Minced Garlic over on YouTube says, this is good stuff, man. Tuning in from Greenville. Glad the algorithm led me here. Dated a girl in high school named Morgan Thomas too. You gotta send us a picture or we're not going to believe it. We're not going to believe it. We need to Facebook profile or not. I know Morgan Thomas is really not a guy name typically, but when I was growing up, all we had was Morgan Freeman and Morgan Shepherd. That's how cool Morgan name was. Now Morgan name for a guy is a little bit cooler. I think there's a country music guy with the name. He's controversial a little bit right now, but I will say it's at least better than some washed up race car driver and an old actor, right? So, but anyways, we need some proof there. Just Some Minced Garlic, but we'll see. All right, so Bill gets in also and says, of course, UGA thinks Travis Shaw will end up in Athens. We didn't even talk about Athens, Al. You think that's even true at all?
I mean, I think they've been in it with him for sure. I mean, UGA seems to get kind of whatever 5-star they want along the defensive line a lot of times. That's kind of the way it's been for many years now. I mean, they're a recruiting machine there at Georgia. And that's a fair thing. But a lot of times the Georgia fans, they think they're getting everybody until they don't. Oh,
really?
So.
Yeah. I mean, what else is new? Every time a Georgia fan gets in our comments about a player eval we did or a review, go into Georgia, UGA, dog bound, dog this, dog that, starts barking at me, whatever. I mean, it's like, what else is new? You get everybody, you pay literally everybody. Now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that true. I'm not putting that out there because as y'all know, if you go out and state that somebody's doing something illegal on this show, about a year later, everything topples. Because case in point, Tennessee, Allen said it happened. Allen said it was happening. Nobody believed him. Where's Tennessee now? All right. John gets in and says, hope the O-line is most improved. Al gets in. Kevron gets in and says, get a Prius Toyota, Big Al.
Not a Prius guy myself. I'm a Chevy guy. Okay, so I don't mind a Toyota. I'll allow the Toyota in general, but I can't say a Prius was going to be my choice there.
Al, it's crazy. We waited 28 minutes to talk about personal going-ons because, we've already got some backlash. Ron, if you're out there, I'm sorry for talking about personal things last week. We went 28 minutes this time and didn't talk about personal things. So hopefully you're okay. But Billy gets in, says SEC just means more. It always does. Means more money. No, it really doesn't mean more money. The NIL, Al, by the way, did you see DJ is now going to be on Fansville? I know you got to like those commercials.
So I got to be honest, okay? I have not seen a ton about the NIL and the deals and all this kind of stuff going on because, as you know, I'm not a fan. So I haven't looked at a lot of this stuff. I know you talk about it. I know Houston's talked about it, and y'all kind of followed it. Y'all keep me a little, up to date as to what's going on there. But it's not something I've really paid a whole lot of attention to. As long as it's not, affecting Clemson in a negative way, bring it. Yeah, whatever.
Well, he's already got the Bo-Berry biscuits. He's given them to the offensive line. They're up 31 pounds. And now we've got Fansville, so he can get us Dr. Pepper. Now, Matt Connolly from ClemsonSports.com, he went out and posted on Twitter that he hopes that it continues to improve the stock of, actually the physical stock, the availability of Dr. Pepper Zero. Al, have you ever had Dr. Pepper Zero?
I don't have anything zero. I'm not a diet drinker kind of guy. So no, the diets and zeros are not for me. I have tasted Coke Zero one time, and look, hey, Coke Zero wasn't bad. It was better than Diet Coke, but no, I'm the full sugar guy.
Alan is all in, all sugar. Just ask his wife. And he's definitely not a zero. Just ask me. But I love Dr. Pepper Zero, and they don't sponsor us, but it is literally so sweet tasting that I don't think they're being honest with us with the no sugar. I think it's a lie. I really do. Virgil gets in. We hadn't seen you, Virgil. Thanks for getting in, sir. What do you guys think about Shipley? Will Shipley has been getting a lot of press recently. And, I'm always skeptical because I feel like Dabo does these like smoke and mirrors sometimes. But then again, sometimes he doesn't. I was in a practice where I asked him about, he started drooling over Cornell Powell. And I asked him point blank, and he respected it. It wasn't like my last time I asked a coach something, Al, as you remember. But I said, Dabo, I didn't say Dabo. That's disrespectful. I said, almighty Coach Sweeney.
Right.
You mentioned last year that Cornell Powell was going to be amazing. He's doing great in practice. We didn't see it on the field on Saturdays. Almighty Coach Sweeney, please tell us why this year will be different. And he said, I'm telling you right now, it's clicked in between his ears. And he knows that he needs to turn it on. He's running out of time. And what happened last year? So, you know what? Before I thought it was smoke and mirrors. Now, hey, if Dabo Swinney talks about Will Shipley, maybe we start listening. I think he'll be great. But, Lynn J. Dixon came out. If you saw our pre-show, we had some of the interviews. They were asking him, do you think that Will Shipley is the fastest guy on the team? He did not like that. He said, we haven't raced because we don't want to get injured racing against each other. He said, but I will not say he's the fastest. I doubt it, is what he said. I'm assuming he's got his money on himself.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And hey, I like the confidence from Lynn J. Dixon, especially a lot of the, people think he might be the first one out of the gate. Him and Kobe Pace are kind of the 1-2 punch there initially. And that's fine. Look, hey, I'm all for either of those guys. I think they both have a lot of ability. Lynn J. has certainly flashed some electric moves in the past, and I'm all for him finally having that big time year. He's been kind of waiting to be the guy for a while, and when Etienne came back, kind of putting a dent in those plans. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do this year. But Will Shipley, yeah, this guy is somebody that nobody can stand to not talk about. His name is always popping up everywhere, on all the radio shows, on all the sites, everywhere. And this guy's going to be good sooner rather than later. I think you'll see a lot of him this year. Not to say he's going to come out and start or anything like that, but is it possible that he could be the starter by the end of the year? Yeah, could be. We'll kind of see how it goes. Again, we're not privy to a lot of this practices, so we're just kind of going off hearsay right now. I'd like to put my eyes on it and see what he can do in some game time situations, maybe in some garbage time at the beginning, maybe it's a kickoff returns or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Shipley has.
All right, so we did offense. Let's move over to defense. Your other part of the question. By now, we would have had to go on at least one break so far, Al. So just letting you know for next week, we will start the show. If you ever tuned into 105.5 The Roar, next week it's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to be on The Roar. Still going to be live on Facebook, still going to be live on YouTube, but also live on air on 105.5 The Roar. So when you're traveling around, maybe going to get dinner, you can listen to us. But we talked about we talked about the different players on offense and on defense. I'm thinking when I'm looking at defense, okay, I like the defensive line. On offense, I like the tight ends a little bit. But with the tight ends, I get a little bit concerned because I don't know if Tony Elliott is going to use them.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm a little bit worried about that. I would love to say the tight ends. All right. I'd love to talk about them, but I just don't know. Jalen Lay, we talked about getting bigger, getting stronger. I just don't know. So let's go over to defense. Al, it's hard to say because I already feel like we're talking about most improved.
Mm-hmm.
This has just got me flustered. I just don't. Can I say defensive line? Considering They led the nation in sacks and 46 sacks last year?
You need to break that up anyways. You need to break it up. Tackles, ends, linebackers, corners, safeties. 1 of 5 position groups.
You go first. I'll cheat. No, I'm just kidding. I honestly think I'm encouraged by the safeties, really. I mean, going back to weight, I'm encouraged by that because – Landon Sanders is adding a ton of pounds. You saw in the pregame interview, the pre-show interview, he played through injury most of last year. If he can stay healthy, and I think it'll help him stay healthy if he's bigger. If you watch the video, he's not fatter. He is bigger. So I think I look forward to seeing what the safety play can do, especially with, I've said, RJ Mickens in the mix and a guy that we're not talking about. Virgil gets in and talks about, why don't people talk about the safety play? Why don't people talk about Simpson? My thought is this: Simpson's going to help, but Barrett Carter, I think, is going to help too.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's another one of those names that's been flashing in practice as a freshman. So I think it's going to come down to kind of where is his position? Is it kind of the nickel spot? Is it as a linebacker? Is it a safety? Because we've been told a couple different things throughout his recruitment. A lot of people said he was going to play safety at Clemson. It seems to me through all the practice reports that he's been working out mostly at linebacker. So I'm not really sure exactly where he's going to end up. They probably don't know where he's going to end up. So this is kind of a tough question to answer. So when you look at the defense, you've got the 5 position groups that I talked about, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the easy answer is the safeties because they have the farthest way to go, right? It's kind of like the offensive line for the offensive side of the ball. I think that's the easy answer because they got exposed in especially the big games last year. And we found out that Landon Sanders was kind of at 65%, and hurt. And Nolan Turner, look, while he's a smart player and he's a good athlete, he's not a great athlete. And the athleticism that he lacks and the speed that he lacks can be problematic for Clemson at time, and it has been. So I think the easy answer is safety there. But I'm going to kind of take a wait and see approach as far as most improved is concerned. I like the added weight that Landon Sanders has put on, again, especially if he can maintain some speed, because I think it's going to help him out being physical at the line of scrimmage, helping in the run game, that kind of thing. But I don't think you can say cornerback. I think cornerback's going to be about the same as last year. I think they're going to be just fine. Linebacker was one that I really considered for this because I was a little upset with the linebackers last year. I thought they missed a lot of tackles last year, especially early in the season. And when that group includes a James Skowski and a Valen Spector, I feel like those guys should be better tacklers than I thought they were last season. And so that kind of upset me a little bit. I considered them for this, but I think they're going to be just fine this year. And so they're going to be improved, I believe, but I don't know whether I could give them the title of most improved. And again, if you go to defensive tackle, you have Tyler Davis and Brian Brzee. It's the same group you had last year. While I think they're going to improve, another year for Brzee learning exactly how to play that position, and hopefully a fully healthy Tyler Davis all the way through the season, I think they're going to be improved as well. I think the defense overall is going to make a big jump this year. But the reason I think they're going to make the biggest jump is because of the defensive ends. I think Miles Murphy is going to take his game to the next level, which is impressive because what he showed us as a freshman was already impressive. And we've got so much depth seemingly there now, whether it's a new and improved Xavier Thomas that we've been waiting on for several years now, whether it's KJ Henry, who the light finally comes on for, whether it's Justin Foster, who left the team and now come back to the team. I think the depth is there. I think the talent is there. I think you're going to see more of a pass rush, and I think the ends are going to be much better than they were last year, going to create, havoc in the backfield, and it's going to make it easier on the secondary as well.
Hit that like button. Make sure you get in to help our algorithm. We already got some minced garlic as a new viewer, and he's from Greenville. So thanks for joining in and being a part of the Tiger group here. The Tiger Den, maybe we'll call it that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I actually, going back to the defensive line, I really, really like that they've gotten bigger and stronger. I think the defensive line specifically, especially those guys behind there, getting at the correct weight. And Al, like you mentioned with the linebackers, getting at the correct weight, getting those guys that were 210 up to 235, getting those guys that were 255 down to 235, because that is the sweet spot, it seems like, for Clemson linebackers. Virgil gets in, says someone will beat out Trotter. The O-line could be really good. I guess he's talking about Trotter on the O-line, not Trotter on the linebacking core, because a lot of people are starting to talk about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. too, being a beast over there as well. Ben gets in on YouTube, says linebacker from Hayes playing. That's Jaron Kanak. We did a video on him. Al, it's got over about 1,000 views over there. So people are enjoying Jaron Kanak and his speed and what he brings to the table. Definitely an overall great athlete, which that's what Clemson likes for their linebacker. They don't like somebody that's just a linebacker. They want you, basically 3 or 4 of the guys that are linebackers right now were also running backs and wide receivers, and some of them were quarterbacks. So they definitely like guys that know what they're doing, that are all around athletes. Hayes playing, I don't know if he's playing right now. I don't know what you're referring to, Ben. He's not on the team yet. So this is a 2022 recruit. So we're looking out for him, but definitely excited to have him on or committed to the Tigers going forward. All right. So we did offense and defense, Al. Mm-hmm. And I just remember what I was talking about before. We're almost up on our second break. So now this would be the second break. This is 8:40, Al. Well, not really. Yeah, it would be 8:40. Second break. Our first break, the show would lead in about 5 minutes. Tune in around 7 o'clock on the Roar. And then our first break, is like 7:20, I think is what they want me to do. And then 7:40 is the second break. And then we finish one more segment. Al, I should give you the whole last segment. Houston keeps wanting the whole last segment, but really you deserve it. You've earned it. You should get it. Who is Houston anyways? Houston's just a caller, just a random caller. Still just a caller to us. No, we're just kidding, Houston. If you're listening to us, hopefully you're watching and sharing this video out there. Houston right now, if you're wondering where he is on vacay. Again, this is like his 5th vacay. I don't know if you're allowed to do that or not. But all right, so I came out with a few solo videos, and we kind of touched on a few things here. But your other question to me today was, do you have a biggest point of concern for
get in bed,
offense and defense? And Al, we gotta say that. That was so smooth. We gotta mention that. I know the fans know this. We're not at the big studio yet. Next week we'll be at the big studio. But Al and I are in our man cave, and you know what? Sometimes the dog walks by. Zoe, I have to shut the door on Zoe. Sometimes our girls, all of our girls, get a little bit loud in the background. But you know what? It's all good. We love you, Al. We know you're a dad. We're happy that you're a dad. So we love you.
So am I.
Let me tell you. Who knows what all there have been so many Zoom meetings. Well, let me say Blue Jeans. We own Blue Jeans now at my company, but there have been so many Blue Jeans meetings where I've had a dog sitting in my lap and Annabeth like whispering, "Hey, can you help me draw? Can you help me write this letter to my friend?" In the middle of a meeting. So it is what it is, my friend. But all right. So your other question, I'm gonna throw up a banner here so we can talk about it.
Sure.
But your other question, biggest points of concern on offense and defense. On offense for me, and we're not talking specific to Georgia game. We're going to get in there and talk specific to the Georgia game in 2 weeks. It's getting closer, but we're going to hold that. So we're going to have a show, on the 2nd of September that is on the radio, live in the studio, and we're going to talk all things Georgia. So hold your questions there. But this is for overall 2020.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts here on offense, defense? For me, I think it keeps going back. I hate to keep beating up the offensive line. It all starts with the offensive line, but to avoid beating up the offensive line, I'm going to say I am curious at how the running back group is going to be treated. I don't think that you can have Lynn J. Dixon as a solid 3-down back. I do think it's running back by committee. I do think that you have to rotate running backs a lot because you have a running back that can do each individual thing. If we're looking at the practice video that we played before, if you missed it, you can see the replay. They were grilling Kobe Pace about how many snaps he's getting. He didn't want to say, but you could kind of tell it seems like a lot of people thinking he's getting most of the snaps. I still don't think that is really a telling sign. We know he got a lot of snaps starting in the spring game. I do think that you got to have a running back by committee. It is a concern for me how they're going to use that. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't want to say it's not a real concern of mine how they're going to use it, because I think all of them are talented. So I'm not worried about any of them being in the game. Keeping them happy is a different story. As you can see with what happened last year with DeMarcus Bowman and how he took off back to Florida. Keeping them happy is a different story. But I personally, I'm not concerned about any of those, top four. I say top four guys, my top four guys, who would be Dixon, Pace, Shipley, and Moffa. I think all those guys can play. I don't really care which one of them's in the game. I think they're all going to do well. I'm surprised, you didn't kind of hit the elephant in the room. Quarterback depth is my biggest point of concern for the offense. The fact that DJ goes down, man, things get really dicey in a hurry. You're talking about potentially, especially starting off the year, you're talking about Hunter Helms. You're talking about from a walk-on being the guy at quarterback. It's crazy. Could it be Will Taylor? Sure. But I'm guessing first guy out of the gate until Pumachan gets back is going to be Helms. Maybe he does just fine. I thought he looked okay when he played in Georgia Tech. Again, that's Georgia Tech, and it's mop-up duty and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But, that's kind of what everybody's talking about. DJ's got to stay healthy. If Clemson wants to do anything and achieve all the goals that they want to achieve, and I would imagine that's winning a national championship this year, you got to have DJ healthy.
Al, can you see the chat on your screen, or can you only see what I post up?
I can see the chat.
Okay. So Bill gets in there. I guess you cheated off of Bill there because he said QB depth is a concern. Bill, you should just get in here. Or Bill, are you writing his notes? I want to know. But depth is a concern. Something unfortunate happens to DJU. It sounds so familiar to what Alan just said, and he wrote it 10 minutes ago. So I don't know. What's the deal there? It's kind of confusing to me. But SCU gets in over on YouTube, says Will Taylor is going to be a decent backup. They don't really know. Is he going to be a quarterback? Is he going to be a wide receiver? They're kind of playing him around both, it seems like. SCU also gets in and says corners and O-line, biggest question marks for him.
Mm-hmm.
John Chansey gets in, says center and biggest concern for defense, safety. Bill also responds, I am Al's mentor.
Without a doubt.
So Al, it is confirmed you are Padawan Big Al, and he is Jedi Knight Bill. So Jedi Knight Bill, that would be we could make a poster.
So I got to get in here, Morgan. What's really funny is obviously we kind of breezed past this a while back. I know you got a good chuckle out of it. When I was telling my girls to get in bed, they were making too much noise. So
were you talking about?
So I want to know, did the audience hear me tell the girls to get in bed? Because my mic said it was muted. Did you hear them or did everybody hear it?
I don't know if you're muted or not, Al. I really don't. You know why?
So hold on. Let's test this. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you no matter what. I can hear you no matter what.
So maybe you just heard, but the audience didn't.
I should know better. I should know better that you know how to work the system. Houston, on the other hand, he's a little bit iffy on whether or not he's going to get his mic going or not. But you definitely know the system.
So,
actually, no, Houston definitely knows the system too. I got great co-hosts, but I will say you're absolutely right. You know why I don't know, Al? Because if there's someone up, so Bill said we heard something. All right, so
I'm sure that is exactly what you said to your girls. so if you saw on the video was get in bed.
Yeah. You're gonna have to explain this because everybody thinks I'm nuts. Now, you know what, Al? Here's the thing. This is COVID, stay at home, work from home, Zoom meetings, whatever. We get it. We get it.
Mom had a late night tonight.
Back in the day when we were trying to be really professional and like try to break into ACC network level, then we cared, right? Now, on the other hand, we've made it. Ben Milstead's landed us on the roar. It's all out.
That's right.
I'm telling
so
you,
I can
you
tell
guys,
the girls to get in.
You guys don't know. I already asked them if we could do a Howard Stern style show, and they didn't respond. But I'm thinking that's not a no. So we went from really professional. We're about to try to go on the other side because we need the views, man. We're all about the views. That's what we're here for. We're not about the content. We don't care about Clemson. We're just about the views. No, that's completely wrong. You know that. You know that.
Untrue.
All right. So SCU says Thursday nights. Yes, we're doing Thursday nights. I know it's tough because, NFL football is coming up. I get it. But there's going to be some pretty bad games on Thursday nights. I'm sure they're not all games you want to see. And I know there's a preseason game going on right now as we speak. But you know what? If you want to talk about Clemson more than watching some random Thursday night football game, come on over. We'll be here. We'll be on the radio too if you don't miss us too. But yeah, SCU said he heard you. All right, Billy gets in and says, Dabo was bragging on Taylor big time today. Said he picks up the system very quick. Hey, I'm with you on that one, man. I'm with you. We need somebody, but also they're talking about Tyson is out there doing some reps for some things, not some crazy moves, not some going to play tomorrow type guy. But, I'm not as concerned with the quarterback. And I'm not really concerned with the running backs. I'm really concerned about the offensive line. But and with John Chancey's comment, the center is confusing to me there. I don't know how to work that out. But all right, so we're getting into the defense now. Mm-hmm. Biggest concern on defense, it's not really the safeties for me because I think they will make that stride. I think there has to be an improvement there. I did a solo video recently, Al. I know you didn't watch it because you don't watch any of my stuff. I watch your stuff though. Actually, I don't because it's all baseball related and I have no idea what you're talking about. But big plays. Clemson, when you look at the top 5 teams from last year, Clemson was last comparatively in 30-plus yards plays from scrimmage given up, in 40-plus yards plays from scrimmage given up, and I'll say opponents 40-plus yards, and then opponents 50-plus yards. So Clemson, and we're talking comparative to Georgia, more than double, almost double in every category there. So they've got to figure out how to stop these big, giant plays. I said in the video, it's not really all about the safeties. A lot of it has to do with Ohio State realizing that, their tight ends are a lot faster than some of the linebackers Clemson has. I am still concerned about that going in because I still have OJ Howard nightmares from many years ago. Yeah. I still have nightmares now from what Notre Dame's tight end did to us and the first time around, and then what Ohio State's tight ends did to us. Or did to Clemson. I say us. We represent Clemson because we graduated from there. We don't represent them in the show. We just talk about them. But I will say Clemson as a team concerns me with ability to stop the tight end, specifically from a linebacker perspective.
Okay. That's fair. That's not where I was going to go. I'm going to kind of piggyback kind of what I did on the offensive side and say depth at defensive tackle. Okay. We all know we have Tyler Davis and Brian Brazier as our 1-2 punch, and I think that's going to be one of the best defensive tackle groups in the country, without a doubt. It's behind them. What happens? What happened last year when Davis went out several times, with injury? It got bad. We realized we couldn't stop the run without him. We couldn't get a rush on the passer because everybody was double teaming Brian Brazier. When Tyler Davis went out of the game, it was a big, big deal for Clemson. The defense seemed to, to fall apart to an extent, with what we're compared to for a Clemson defense, anyways. So that's kind of tough. They talk about Rook Orororo. They talk about he's going to be really good.
Very well done, right? Al. Very well done.
So I think he's going to have to take that next step. We like to talk about Trey Williams. We like to talk about DeMonte Capehart, both of whom I think are injured, at least minor injuries right now. So somebody's going to have to step up and give us, 4 deep there. Rook seems to be one of the guys they like to talk about, and I think he's kind of the third in line guy, but you got to have somebody else. And they've got to, not only do they have to be, a body to plug in, but they got to be good. They've got to know their assignment. They got to be able to do their job, which I think is kind of the issue here. So I'm going to say depth at defensive tackle concerns me the most, even though I think, the easy answer there, again, is safety, because I think they have the most improvement that they could do from last year. I think they're going to be fine. I think they might not be, superstar safeties or anything like that, but I think they're going to be able to get their job done, which is why I'm pointing to depth at defensive tackle as my main point of concern on defense.
Interesting. I don't think I would have picked that, to be honest with you. Let us know in the chat what you think. I don't think I would have picked that, to be honest. I mean, you got Williams and Capehart back there. I know they've been messing around with some injuries and getting ready and stuff. I don't know.
What have you seen from either of those two players yet?
Well, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of what have we seen from you yet?
That's unfair.
Where are you? We could do a segment on that. Where are you? Because you know what? Back in the day, I called out on Walt's show. I think it was, who was the, he's a police officer now for Clemson. He was the cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Chris Chancellor. Chris Chancellor?
Chancellor. Yes. Number 36, I think, 32, 38. I don't know. I called him out because, man, he was getting just abused on the slant play. And I'm like, where are you? We need you. Where are you? You're getting just destroyed on every slant play. Now, he was my height, or is my height. So, it is what it is, Al. Not everybody can be as tall as you. But, so if you want to say, where are you? Or where are you? When are you going to show up? Specifically, a player. I got Joseph Ngata, number 1 on my list. Sure. Number two on my list. Let's say number 1 on defense. I got to say XT.
Yeah,
everybody
which is
gets in the chat. When we do a defensive related video, everybody gets in the chat, says XT's going bring it this year. I want to see it. You're challenged by the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al in Houston. I want to see it, XT. We know XT watches the show sometimes. I want to see it. We love you. And his dad watches the show too. So I'm not saying negatively. We just want to see you show out. Same thing for Joe Ngata. If your parents are watching tonight, you know what? I want to see it. You're a 5-star guy. We drooled all over you, and I want to see you crush it.
So this took a little bit of a turn. Okay, which never happens with you. Okay?
Never,
of course. As we know, that's not exactly what it is. We know you mean well. This was not a bashing Trey Williams, DeMonte Capehart. Okay, because
you did.
They simply haven't had their chance to do it in the game yet. Whether it's because they're still young guys. I mean, they haven't been in the program that long.
Don't try to back up now, Al. Don't try to back up.
Yeah, not the case at all. I'm just saying you don't know what you can depend on from them because they haven't been in really the games yet. We've heard a lot of good talk about Trey Williams.
From the opportunity. They haven't been given the opportunity.
Yeah, because of the people in front of them.
I like that because they really haven't been given the opportunity.
Sure.
Now, those two other guys that I mentioned have been given the opportunity. That's why it's a completely different conversation. So
that's right. It is.
We'll go back to bus up, Morgan. Back to bus up. Alan is correct.
Yeah, that's
say
true.
it again.
Truer words have
Alan,
never been spoken.
Alan is correct. Marcel's promos and commercials. I think I know Marcel. I think we've seen him before.
Yeah.
I think he well, you know what? If it's the Marcel, I think it's Marcel. He is a regular over on Walt's show. So they love him over there. Ready for our Clemson football this year and reach the national championship next year, which is true. And holla, all in. I like it. You know what? All the encouragement for sure. SCU, I wonder if it's SCU like the wrestling stable, or is it SCU something else? Why are you SCU? And how in the world did you land the name SCU? I mean, 3 letters. YouTube allow you to do that. A little concerned about Xander's shoulder still. Xander's talked about his shoulder in the pre-show interviews. Hesitated when he was asked about it. Well, I mean, there's Charleston behind him. There's Mickens behind him too, right? And then we talked about Barrett Carter. Formerly giggled from last year. SCU now. Interesting. So Al, do you think that, at this point, Xanders could be still worried about his shoulder?
Now, in fairness, I came in near the end of that interview that you were playing tonight, so I'm not sure that I saw any hesitancy or anything like that because I didn't see him get asked the question. But if he still got any kind of shoulder injuries, well, that is a red flag for sure. If he's hesitating to pretending, trying to hide something, yeah, that's a big deal. Because we need Xanders to be 100%. We've talked about Xanders on the show that even though he's not the most physically imposing guy, we think he's very physical. He likes to hit, bring the heat, that kind of thing. He's got to do that to maximize his potential on the field because he doesn't have the measurables. So if he's got anything holding back, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely.
But I don't know that to be the case.
It's definitely a concern if it is the case. We need the defense to stay healthy for sure, especially in the secondary. There's definitely a lot of help to come in the secondary. I'm loving the guys that they've landed so far.
Yeah.
John Chancey gets in. When are you going to show up, Houston? Who goes on vacation this close to the season, to the new season? I hope Houston's watching right now because I said this to him, John. Are you kidding me? It is the end. It's the middle of August. Our views have already started to shoot up, Al. Have already started to go through the roof, to the moon, as they say on Reddit.
Yeah.
And Houston's gone. What's the deal?
Yeah.
You know what?
Hey, who came back from vacation in time for the show this week? Exactly.
And you know what? We're using StreamYard, as you can tell. I told Houston he could call us from his phone. He said he couldn't because he'd be playing putt-putt. I said it would be great content to have him play putt-putt while we talk about Clemson. But if you really want to talk about a red flag, where's Houston? That's a red flag.
I agree.
Totally Mel agree. Graves gets in, says, everyone thinks Georgia is all that. They don't they realize that Georgia lost a lot of their A1 players? Mm-hmm. Georgia, not as good as people think. That will show in Charlotte. A1 players. Who's he talking about? I know that they lost 2 cornerbacks to one of them to the first round, maybe both of them to the first round. I think maybe they weren't the best cornerbacks as far as fundamentals, but they were definitely super fast guys.
Yeah, I'm not a Georgia expert by any means. I don't like Georgia. I hope they win one game a year. I've made that very clear. So I can't remember the first cornerback they lost. They also lost Tyson Campbell. They lost Richard LeCount. They lost several others, Azeez Ojulari, all them kind of people. But there's a ton of talent on that defense, and they lost a lot of it. Okay, no doubt about it. I think the reason people are thinking Georgia's going to be good again this year, besides the fact that they think Georgia's going to be good every year, is because they recruit nothing but 5-star after 5-star and 4-star after 4-star players. So it's kind of one of those things like Clemson has gotten in this situation, like Alabama has gotten in this situation, like Ohio State has gotten into this situation. They don't rebuild, they reload. Okay. And the only good news is for us, we have the hardware to prove it. And Alabama has the hardware to prove it. Georgia still has not gotten there yet. And I'm hoping they don't for some time to come.
I don't really follow the players on Georgia either, But I will agree, and I'll transition kind of to this. I agree with. Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say what I'm about to say. I can see where Paul Feinbaum is coming from in his recent comments. If you heard about it on ESPN on the Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin show recently this week, he said, "I think Clemson is ranked too high. I'm not buying Clemson this year. I think they'll lose to Georgia in the first game. They've really nowhere to go because they play in a rather pedestrian ACC schedule. I don't like the way Clemson finished last season. I thought their defense was very vulnerable. I don't think the quarterback swap is going to be that big of a deal because they have a great wide receivers. DJ's not Trevor Lawrence, but he's still very good. To me, the defense has trailed off ever so slightly the last 2 years. And that's their issue."
Mm-hmm.
Whew. I don't know, man. I will agree schedule-wise, if we break down his comments, I will agree that this is a must-win game for really both teams as far as national impact on the team, national perception. But I also will say Clemson could very easily go through that average ACC schedule. Georgia's easily winnable schedule too. They're not playing Alabama in the regular season. They're not playing Texas A&M in the regular season either, I don't think. So I would say they're avoiding two top teams. Georgia's going to play Clemson and be favored to win in every single one of their games after that. Clemson is going to place Georgia and be favored to win every single game other than that. Those two teams, yes, they could lose, but there's a long season to go after that to rebuild from that. And you know what's going to happen. Go ahead and lose the first game. I don't want them to lose the first game. But if they do and they come out and dominate the other 11 games, what are they going to say in November? This isn't the same team that played the first game that was still figuring it out.
Yep.
So I think the first game being the way it is, the season being the way it is, not really a death sentence for the Tigers.
No, without a doubt.
Or either
You're
team.
100% right. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it matters. In beginning of the season, national perception only is the only reason this game matters, because if Clemson runs the table, if Georgia runs the table, they're both going to be there at the end. Ohio State did this several years ago, against Virginia Tech. They got beat by who was supposed to be an average Virginia Tech team, I think it was, at the beginning of the year. I think I have that right. Commenters can come in and tell me if I'm wrong there. But Ohio State ended up in the playoff at the end of the year anyways. So this first game kind of means very little. I'm not worried about it. I mean, yeah, it's a huge boost, going forward. So of course I'm wanting Clemson to win. But I mean, you got two good teams clashing like this. It really doesn't matter who loses, as long as it's a competitive game. Wins is kind of an afterthought. You just dominate the rest of your season, the rest of your schedule. Both of them have relatively easy schedules. I think they can go through, run the table, and be there at the end.
And so we talk about the rest of what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions that Clemson's ranked too high, and specifically talking about the defense is, quote, very vulnerable at times last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that they've basically regressed. Let me pull up the exact thing he said. They've trailed off ever so slightly the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's talking about the playoff experience, I guess, the playoff results, the playoff, how they performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll agree with. It seemed like they were a dominant defense, and then all of a sudden got hung 600 yards. What happened? I think there's a lot to do with that. Not just that their whole defense has trailed off. I think that's way too general of a statement. But Al, you kind of mentioned earlier before the show that you don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I think the defense has tailed off the last couple of years. We don't have the Power Rangers anymore. I think that's a big deal. And maybe I'm wrong there, but the fact of the matter is, the players just haven't been completely dominant, like the Christian Wilkins and the Dexter Lawrence and the Cleveland Furls, Austin Bryants of the world. That makes any secondary, doesn't matter who's back there, it makes them look really good when you've got those kind of guys and getting that much pressure on the quarterback and stuff in the run game. Okay, so it's going to change things when we haven't had the pass rush we've had these past couple of years. Now, I think this season is going to be a little bit different. I do think Clemson's going to have a pass rush, as I alluded to before. So I don't think it's going to be as big a deal this year. I think Clemson defense, assuming health, of course, is going to be back for the most part this year and for next year as well, because, again, you're going to have hopefully a senior Tyler Davis, and you're going to have Brian Brzee as a junior, Miles Murphy as a junior. I mean, you've got some serious talent coming back next year. And, again, I think they're going to take that next step this year, so I'm not really concerned about the defense at all. But, yeah, I think his point is correct. The defense had tailed off. Unfortunately, he's wrong because it's going to be back this year.
And Virgil gets in and says, Feinbaum's never said one good thing about Clemson. And I will say, there are homers out there. I mean, you see him. He's an SEC homer. He's in the pocket. We are Clemson homers, and that's why we're here. We're here really to offset the negativity from Feinbaum. But there are also homers for the Big 12. Well, what was the Big 12? What is going to be remaining of the Big 12? You got to kind of worry what Fox is going to do, because their homers over there on Fox is like probably pretty nervous. Joel Klatt is probably like, oh, man, where's my next job going to be? But I don't know, man. I really feel like that, yes, it's got to go down a little bit when you have the Power Rangers gone, when you have 3 first-rounders gone. But, the defense, I think, is doing the right things. They're making the right adjustments. They're getting bigger, stronger, faster. They've returning so many players coming back. The key players that beat, that caused problems for Notre Dame were not even in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The key players for Ohio State, you can't ignore the fact that Nolan Turner didn't play but half the game, and then came in on like a whim, had to figure it out the last minute, starting the second half. So it's very, very difficult to do that. Turner, did his best, but I will say, yes, I do think the defense has to improve, but I still think they're an elite defense. I don't think that you can say they've trailed off every single year. I do think that sometimes the matchup just plays bad. I think that, and I will say this, nobody really talks about this, but when you go back and you look, Clemson was up, 2 touchdowns, had almost a chance to go up 3 touchdowns on both those teams early. Mm-hmm. So when you look back, and Al, you and I have talked about it, Clemson could have been up 4 touchdowns on LSU if things had just slightly changed.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ohio State. Look back and look at Ohio State. I do see what we saw with the defense not being set and being out of position and getting exposed, and Landon Sanders being undersized for trying to stop the run, and Nolan Turner not being there. And then when he got there, he looked confused. And then the linebackers not being able to keep up with their speedy tight end. I did see all that. But I also did see Trevor Lawrence making decisions about plays before the ball was snapped. And people say all these great things about Trevor. He's definitely got to improve on that. He cannot just, in the NFL for sure, he cannot just snap the ball and throw it to the guy that he wanted to throw it to before the play even started. And he did do that. You can see it against the Ohio State game. I'm not saying he's not an amazing quarterback, one of the best Clemson's ever had, but I will say that he did end up, kind of, I wouldn't say he just pre-picked who he was going to throw to before. Minced Garlic gets in here. Just some Minced Garlic says, pretty sure that was the first half of the OSU game. He's going to be in the whole time.
That was before. That was SCU's comment. Wiskowski missed the first half of Georgia game for targeting. The answer is no, because that was in the first half of the OSU game. So he'll be good to go for the Georgia game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So he did serve that second half in that game. Okay. Makes sense. Which the targeting rule, don't even get me started on that. It's completely nuts. We got a ton of people over on YouTube, 27 watching now, about 11 or 12 over on Facebook. If you're watching right now, the biggest thing that you can help us with, if you've stuck with us so far, is liking the video. So that's step 1. Step 2 is subscribing to YouTube or following us on Facebook. That's really more for you. It does help us, but help this video in particular, like the video or heart the video or laugh at the video, whatever you want. On Facebook, you can do all those things. On YouTube, you just like it. The next thing is to subscribe or follow so you can be with us next week and every week going forward. And then the final thing is, if you want to, share it with a friend, send it to a friend and say, hey, check out this show. I join. We can get in the chat. We can go crazy. Have a great time. We got even more people joining in now, so we really appreciate it. SCU says, awesome. Every time he says, I see SCU, I think of AEW, which, Al, I don't know if you know about AEW, but you should start watching. It's getting more and more interesting. They're about to go to Chicago, and CM Punk is rumored to be making his return. Maybe even Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whatever, maybe coming as well. A new Ngata or a new Naga. I don't know how to say that right, but we have depth. We're a young team the last couple of years. Now we have hitters, cover corners, speed on defense like no other team I've seen. Hey, I can't argue with that. I will say this. If you listen to the practices, a lot of the players are saying that they like what they see as far as their weight, as far as their speed, and a lot of the coaches, specifically Bates, says his defensive line is where he wants him to be because of their experience. A lot of times in those situations, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to stand. They didn't know what position they were going to be in. And now this year, they are going to know. And that, to me, is pretty scary. The experience of this defense, as you mentioned, that Georgia doesn't necessarily have. I mean, who is the new guy on the defense? Sheridan Jones, Andrew Booth, Nolan Turner. I mean, who's the new guy on the defense?
Yeah, that's a good point. Barrett Carter, probably.
So you think Barrett Carter is going to be the guy that's going to get playing time lickety split, as they say?
I think he's the one with the most potential to on defense anyways, yeah.
Virgil gets in. This could be Clemson's best team since the 2008 national title. 2018, excuse me. I said 2008. 2018. I wanted to give us another title, Al. You know, I don't know. The 2018 team, obviously I mean, you know, you and I could have played quarterback. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was amazing, but you really didn't need the offense to keep up. It seems like the last two playoff times, you needed the offense to keep up, you know? And that I can see where Paul Feinbaum's comes from is maybe a trail off. Why is the offense having to keep up with, you know, the other offense? Why is the defense not stopping them? But I think you can only hold them so long on defense.
Yep, I don't disagree. I like a lot of the people are coming in. You know, John's getting in and saying Ormakuba. SCU says Wiggins. Mel says don't forget about Trotter. SCU Ororo. I'm buying out of that list. I'm buying John Chancey and John Sarian as Makuba. I think he's kind of one of those others who I think has potential. I like Makuba's athleticism. I think he's a huge talent upgrade. I think he's going to show sooner rather than later. I just don't know whether it's going to be quite this year with the experience we have back there right now or not. But yeah, I like Makuba's long-term upside a lot.
It's so hard, and that goes back to the recruiting part. It is hard on this defense because Clemson's able to kind of hold on to their players a little bit longer. I mean, you don't see a lot of players who are leaders on teams who are the best guy on the team not try the NFL and stay one more year. You know, I mean, Spector doesn't have to be here. Skalski doesn't have to be here. Turner doesn't have to be here, but they are here. And I think that plays a big role for sure. Definitely a lot of guys look forward to. We didn't even say this, but Justin Foster. I mentioned this on one of my solo shows. Foster, with the fact that he's back, just as impactful, I think, as Justin Ross. We talk about Ross so much, but Foster, definitely somebody who I look forward to seeing because he already has all that experience. I mean, he has a ton of snaps under his belt. And so he can go in. They're saying that they're going to slowly, gradually put him in, but I think that he's going to be able to get in there. Mince Garlic says, at least the interviews I've seen, it seems like Booth has matured the most since last season. I think he grew up on that bus home from Louisville. You know what? That seems like such a distant past, a distant memory that actually happened. And there had to be some dog pound things there. Or in Dabo's doghouse or Dabo's, what do we call it? Dabo's doghouse. I know DK was in it most of the time.
Yeah.
Anouk says in there, he's a grown man. A lot of people interested in this. So, all right, we're past our time here. We've been on an hour and about 45 minutes, Al. I know people were like, man, have they really been talking that long? We haven't been. The Love Shack, SCU said the Love Shack.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't been on for actually an hour and 40. I came on a little earlier and did some showed some player interviews that were from Clemson Sports Information. So if you get in on the replay, if you missed anything, the very beginning is some player interviews. Lynn J. Dixon, Landon Zanders, Kobe Pace. Get in there, listen to that. Some good stuff there. It's always good to keep up to date with these player interviews because you can always get some little hints here and there. There are some players that give you no insight, but then there are some that really kind of, especially the offensive linemen, they seem to always give you good tidbits that you can use. All right, so again, this is our last show from our man caves. We're moving on next week, moving on up to the Pronk Studios, which is an Emmy award-winning studios in Greenville. And we're going to be broadcasting live from that studio where we're going to be doing Facebook and YouTube. So we're still going to be here, but it's going to be 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's going to be more strict on the time and what we can talk about because we're going to be on the radio. All right. So 105.5 FM, The Roar, if you're in the upstate, or 97.5. If you're in Clemson or Greenville or Anderson, 105.5 The Roar. If you're in Spartanburg or somewhere, Duncan area, you can get 97.5 The Roar. So tune in, 105.5 right after Walt Deptula and Road Rage. He will hand off. Ramona's going to stay with us. She's going to be our producer, and we're going to do 7 to 8. So we got a little time block there on Thursday night. So we're really excited about it and partnering with The Roar this year. First time. We did it 2 years ago where we were recorded. This time we're going to be live. So it's even more exciting here. I hope you guys can tune in. I know it's a little bit earlier, but again, we always have the replays on Facebook, YouTube, and you can follow me on Twitter at The Morgan T Show. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, if you're first time, we really appreciate it. We try to put out all kinds of unique Clemson video content every single week where we give you our opinions. We update you on what's going on, and we really appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For myself, for Big Al, and for Houston, who's somewhere knee-deep in crab legs, as Billy Sigmund said. We appreciate you. We're signing off, and as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.